Have you ever made a sugar flower arrangement before and just thought it was missing a little something? When I just started out, I only wanted to make the big and beautiful flowers and kind of neglected the buds and the filler flowers, which can seem a little boring when you're just starting out. But I found out how important they are in creating beautiful arrangements. So today we are going to create some beautiful peony buds. Let me show you how. Alexandria from Finespun Cakes. If you are new here, welcome. Please don't forget to hit that like button if you do enjoy this video and subscribe so you don't miss more videos just like this one. Before we get to the video, please leave me a comment and tell me, does flower arranging come naturally to you or is it a bit of a struggle? I would love to hear your experience. Let's get to the video. I've got a few different sizes of styrofoam balls for these peony buds. I have some that are 1.75 inches and I just buy all of these from the dollar store, and I also have some that are 1.5 inches. Along with that, I have teardrop shaped cutters in 3 different sizes. So the largest one will be for the 1.75 inch, and that just fits just over the ball. So that's how you know you've got the right size cutter. And then I've got the one for the 1.5 inch, and that also just fits right over the styrofoam ball. The last two I have here are just a smaller teardrop shaped cutter, which we're going to be using for the Calyx, as well as an elongated leaf cutter, also for the Calyx. Let's get started. First, we'll need to cut our 18 gauge wires into thirds. You can of course make these longer, but I know that these buds are going to be sitting pretty close to the cake, so I just need 1/3 of the wire. And it doesn't have to be perfect, just approximately 1/3. And then hook the ends of each of your wires, and we will hot glue these into the styrofoam balls to make a secure base. Next, take one of your styrofoam balls and you're going to poke a hole right down the center, I would say about halfway through, and just make a nice entry point where we can attach that wire with the hot glue. Repeat with the remaining styrofoam balls. My hot glue gun is really nice and heated up, so we can begin to insert the wires into our styrofoam balls. So just put a nice big dab on the hooked end and then insert that into the area that you made the hole. It's okay if there's a little bit of extra glue, that's fine. We're going to be covering that up with a Calyx. If you want, you can wait for the glue to dry a tiny bit and then just smooth it out a bit with your finger, and that takes care of it. So the color I'm using here is kind of like a muted pink, and this color I colored during my Peony class. So we're going to be starting with this muted pink, and this was colored with dusky pink and caramel food coloring, both of which I will link to in the description box below. But if you do want to see exactly how I get this color, it will be in the class. So I'm just going to start with a small handful of the gum paste. I've already given this gum paste a good knead, so it is nice and stretchy and no longer cold like it's straight from the fridge. Put a bit of shortening on your hands, and then we are going to roll this out to a number 5 on the pasta machine. I have rolled my gum paste out now to a number 5 and is looking really nice and delicate. If you do want to see more of these techniques, how I roll it out, how I color the gum paste, you can check that out in my Peony course, which I'm going to link to in the description box below. So I've got my 2 different size cutters here, and for each of the peony buds, we are going to need 5 different petals. So I will start with the smaller one. So I'm going to start cutting out 10 of these small ones. And always cut out 1 or 2 extras. Make sure to cover these while you work. And now we'll be cutting out 5 of the large teardrop petals. And 1 extra, just to be safe. Always cover your gum paste between uses. And I'm going to grab my burgundy gum paste and cut that out as well. This burgundy gum paste I colored during the process of making the gum paste. You can grab my recipe in the description box below, but if you do want to see how that's done, it's going to be in full detail in the Peony course. So this is a burgundy color that has been diluted with a tiny bit of white, but is still really nice and saturated. You can see that gorgeous color. So let's cut out the same number of petals as we did with the muted pink. This has also been rolled to a number 5, and that color is so beautiful. Comment below and tell me what your favorite color of Peony is. I would love to hear. I'm in love with this burgundy color though. Okay, grab your small cutter and make sure that you've gotten rid of any excess gum paste. So I just run my finger around it just to get rid of that. We don't want the colors transferring from one flower to the other. And especially if we were working from darker to lighter, that would be a bigger issue, but going from lighter to darker isn't so bad. Okay, let's cut out 10 of these small petals. And a couple extra. And we're going to be cutting out 5 of the larger petals. Okay, so we've got a foam mat and we've also got a veining tool. If you follow me, you know that I love this tool and I use it for so many flowers. Highly recommend investing in one of these. And I'm also using a ball tool. This is my medium and large ball tool. I'm gonna start by grabbing a couple of my muted pink petals. Using your large ball tool, you wanna really thin out that top edge. Don't worry if it ruffles right now, that's okay. So I've just smoothed that out with my fingers, and then we're gonna bring that to the edge of our mat. This is a very similar technique that we use in the Peony course. We just add a few little extra steps to make those really fluffy petals. But with the buds, these petals are gonna be really tight around the styrofoam ball. So now just roll this veining tool back and forth, adding more pressure on the outside than you do on the inside. Going back and forth in any areas that you want a little more texture. And I'm repeating with the second petal. Just making sure that that is really delicate looking. Flip both of those over and grab your gum glue or water. And these are going to be the first base petals on our small flowers, so you're going to want the entire thing to stick really well. So put some gum glue along the top edge, along the bottom edge, and then I do a little cross in the center as well. Just to make sure it's really stuck down, because this is our base. So looking directly on top of your flower, you want that to overlap more than halfway. Stick down the top first and then work your way out, kind of trying to curve that petal around the styrofoam ball as you work down gently. It's almost like you're covering a spherical cake with fondant. You just kind of work it down. And it's okay if there's even a couple pleats at the bottom. That's not a big deal because it will be covered with the Calyx. So really secure that on. Make sure that it is covering over half. And then let's stick on the second one, which is going to be doing the same thing, but on the other side, on the opposite side. So again, we've attached to the top and we will just gently press all the way down. Little pleat there, totally fine. And now our styrofoam is totally covered at the top, so the only thing we have left to cover is on the sides, which we're going to use our final 3 petals for. So I'm gonna grab those 3 petals and use the same technique as I just did with the first 2. Gonna thin out those edges really nice and delicately. Do you like making buds for your flowers, or do you sometimes skip this step? I know when I was just starting out, all I wanted to make were the really big, fluffy, over-the-top flowers, but as I have progressed in my cake decorating career, I have really started to appreciate the buds, the leaves, all of those smaller things that sometimes we don't think about. They really add a natural element to your cakes, making them look more like real flowers. So bring these to the edge of your mat and we will thin those out. Totally fine if you have any little torn edges. That'll just make it look more real. This time when we put our glue on, we're not going to go right to the top edge because we can have these petals slightly more open, but I am going to go almost to the very top. And the cross in the center again. I think that will be good. You can always add a bit more glue later, but remember you can't take it away, so don't oversaturate your petals at the beginning. So I'm just going to place this on, covering the majority of the styrofoam area that was still visible. And I'm going to press it on where I know that there's some glue, but you don't need to be as stringent about like pressing it all the way down onto the styrofoam ball this time. And then we're going to work our way down exactly the same way as before, just making sure that it is stuck. And I'll stick this side on a little bit more and leave this side a little bit more open. You always want your flowers to look a little bit different, right? So just play around with it until you're happy with the way it looks. And stick the next one on. So we do want these all to be converging fairly close to the top area. These shouldn't be really open petals yet. That comes for the big peony, which I hope you guys will join me in making in my course. And last petal, we're just gonna stick that in right there. You can always shift those petals around a little bit if you're not happy with the placement. All right, I think this one is looking really nice. I'm going to allow this to dry and I'm going to finish up the other 3 blush ones, and then I'm going to show you how to do one of the burgundy ones. My first 3 muted pink buds are complete. We just have to do the calyxes on them. And now we're going to move on to making our burgundy buds in order to go with our burgundy peonies. So I'm going to grab all 5 of my petals here. You can, of course, work in smaller batches if you're newer or you're working a little bit slower than I am. That is totally fine. As long as your petals aren't drying out as you work, you can really work with as many as you'd like. Again, I will thin out these edges. Grab your veining tool. And give that a really nice press all the way along, going back and forth on that petal. You can see that really nice delicate edge. That is exactly what we want. We're going to do exactly the same gluing, so let's pick two. And these two will go in the first layer. So we put the gum glue all the way up to the top edge, and then the cross in the center, to make sure those can be really firmly stuck onto our buds. Then the next three we'll do just a little bit below that, because they don't have to be stuck down quite as firmly. Perfect. Let's grab our small bud. And again, remember, we put that just overlapping the center line so that we're covering that styrofoam ball up completely. And we're working our way down, just smoothing that out. And then we put the other one on the opposite side. Then we'll just put our last three around the whole bud. So I want them pretty tight at the top here. Since the bud is just the very beginning of the flower, all the petals are really tight and compact. And let's just make sure that the base is smoothed out. And I will finish up my last two of the burgundy ones, and then I'm going to show you guys how to make the calyx. Thank you for watching part 1 of this peony bud tutorial, and next week we are going to be making the calyx, attaching it to the flower. We're also going to be dusting both the blush and the burgundy peonies, so I hope to see you there, and you can check out my peony course in the description box below before you head out. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on part 2, and I will see you next week.